Artemide Zatti was born in Barreto, Italy on 12th October 1880. It did not take long for him to experience the hardship of sacrifice. So much so, at the age of 9, he was already earning his living as a farmhand. Forced by poverty, the Zatti family immigrated to Argentina at the beginning of 1897 and settled in Bahia Blanca. The young Artemide immediately began to frequent the parish run by the Salesians. Finding his spiritual director in Father Carlo Cavalli, the parish priest, a pious man of extraordinary goodness, he was directed by him towards Salesian life. He was 20 years old when he went to the aspirantate at Bernal. While caring for a young priest suffering from tuberculosis, he contracted the disease. The paternal concern of Father Cavalli, who followed him from afar, facilitated Zatti to go to the Salesian house in Vietnam, where there was a more suitable climate and, above all, a missionary hospital with a good Salesian nurse who was also like a doctor, Father Ibasio Garone. Father Ibasio Garone invited Artemide to pray to Mary Help of Christians to be healed, suggesting that he make a promise. If she heals you, you will dedicate your whole life for these sick people. Artemide made his promise willingly and was mysteriously cured. He would later say, "I believed, I promised, and I got healed." That saying has become proverbial. His path was now clearly marked out, and he embarked on it with great enthusiasm. He accepted with humility and docility the renouncing of priesthood, though it costed him much. He made his first profession as a lay brother on 11th January 1908 and his perpetual profession on 8th February 1911. In keeping with the promise he had made to Our Lady, he immediately consecrated himself totally to the hospital, initially taking charge of the adjoining pharmacy, and when Father Garone died in 1913, the entire responsibility of the hospital fell on his shoulders. He became deputy director, administrator, and an expert nurse esteemed by all the patients and the doctors themselves, who gave him greater and greater freedom of action. His service was not limited to the hospital, but extended to the whole city and even to the 2 towns on the banks of Negro River, Vietma and Patagones. In case of necessity, he traveled at all hours of the day and night, in any weather, to the hovels of the suburbs, and doing everything free of charge. His fame as a saintly infirmarian spread throughout the South, and he received sick people from all over Patagonia. It was not uncommon for the sick to prefer the visit of the holy infirmarian to that of the doctors. Artemide Zatti loved his sick people in a very touching way. He saw Jesus himself in them. So much so, when he asked the sisters for a dress for a new boy who had just arrived, he would say, "Sister, do you have a dress for a 12-year-old Jesus?" His care for the sick was done with great care, and it had all its delicate nuances. Some people remember seeing him carrying the body of a patient who had died during the night on his shoulders towards the mortuary to remove it from the sight of other patients. And he did this while reciting the De profundis. Faithful to the Salesian spirit and to the motto bequeathed by Don Bosco to his sons, work and temperance, he carried out a prodigious activity with habitual readiness of spirit, with heroic spirit of sacrifice, and with absolute detachment from any personal satisfaction, without ever taking holidays or rest. It's said that the only 5 days of the rest he had were spent in prison. Yes, he had also known the prison because of the escape of a prisoner from the hospital, for which the blame was on him. He was absolved and his return home was a triumph. He was a man very easy to deal with, a great energy of sympathy that he manifested and gladly spent time to talk with the simple people. Above all, he was a man of God and he radiated Jesus. One doctor at the hospital, who was rather incredulous, said, "When I saw Brother Zatti, my disbelief faltered." And another exclaimed, "I started believing in God ever since I met Brother Zatti." In 1950, the tireless infirmarian fell from a ladder, and it was then that the symptoms of cancer appeared, which he himself clearly diagnosed. However, he continued to carry out his mission for another year until, after heroically accepting his suffering, he passed away on 15th March 1951 in full consciousness, surrounded by the affection and gratitude of an entire population. He was declared venerable on 7th July 1997 and beatified by St. John Paul II in St. Peter's Square on 14th April 2002. The miracle that is approved for the canonization of Artemide Zatti comes from the life of the brother of a Salesian brother, Brother Roberto Narvaez of the Philippine North Province. This younger brother of the Salesian brother suffered from successive strokes in the month of August 2016. He fell into a coma, was in the ICU on ventilator, and there was no chance of survival. As the family was preparing for his death, Brother Roberto asked them to pray to Brother Zatti. A picture of Brother Zatti was kept under his hand while he was in the ICU and at home in bed. Miraculously, on 23rd August at 4 a.m., he sat up and asked to be taken for a bath. When the family tried to dissuade him, he refused to stay quiet. He had a bath and then he had a bowl of soup together with the family. This is nothing short of a miracle. It was examined by a team of doctors and they certified that medically this cure could not be explained. Miracles like this have occurred over and over again through the intercession of Blessed Zatti. All of them have not been recorded. So he continues to be present among us. His holiness and his life of fidelity is an inspiration to all of us. May the canonization of this saint give us all greater inspiration to be faithful to our own call as Salesians and members of the Salesian family and be witnesses to holiness as Don Bosco wanted us to live. Thank you.